Can you share a success story from your past experiences?
Sure, sure. There's many, many to choose from. I'll give you an example of a major consulting firm that we worked with. And just to begin here, I would say that um, in our execution excellence practice, we're always tying the work that we do to some business problem. In our model in Axilent, we talk about the it dimension, the I dimension, the individual, the we dimension, which is the collective, and that it dimension, which is the task. And in execution excellence, it's always tied and begins with a task in the it dimension, always. So in this particular case, we had one of the world's largest firms with the task of needing to redo their audit methodology and redo their audit software that 75,000 of their employees used on a daily basis to create audits for their clients. The challenge for this company was not their knowledge of audit because they themselves are auditors. The challenge for this company was the way they were structured. And they're structured as a collection of member firms where every individual firm has its own owner. And what challenge that produces is that it's very hard to centrally drive one solution from the center because every company at the local level has its own owner and can choose or not to choose to participate. So the only way to create a new methodology that everyone in the world uses and that will make all of the regulators around the world and governments happy is that all of the main countries of this firm build that audit methodology together and build that software together. And so that was their execution challenge. Their challenge wasn't so much the knowledge of audit. Their challenge was how to coordinate so many different groups of people that have different interests. So the challenge was very it dimension related. And we were brought in to work with these groups at a few different levels. One, they had a global team that oversaw the development of all of this work. So this team was comprised of representatives from the top 10 countries around the world in their organization. They also had many, many different work streams that specialized in small pieces of the solution. This global work group had to oversee all of these many work streams. So we managed this not only from a project management perspective in a traditional sense, but we also brought many of our conscious business skills to these groups, but also living conscious business as a member of the team on the inside. So we would help these teams collaborate more effectively together, and instead of having conversations that were position-based only, which is what they would do in the past, it would be very difficult for them to come to any agreement because they're coming from a place of their fixed positions. So we had to change those conversations to be interest-based. So how could we have different countries with very different positions and sometimes different interests come together and have a meaningful conversation that develops a new audit methodology, for example? And the audit methodology, just so you understand, is a document of 3,000 pages with thousands of decisions that need to be made. And each one of these has to be taken through this group of all these multiple countries. So helping them communicate and collaborate much more effectively because a conscious business helped their interpersonal skills in being able to relate and have conversations with one another. But also we installed these attitudes of empowerment that didn't really allow, once the mindsets are in place, don't really allow anyone to blame anyone else. Everyone has to look for their contribution to the solution. So it really changed the way that they looked at themselves and looked at working with one another. And as we coordinated all of that activity, we also were in charge of the project management, and that meant tracking all of this activity, the timelines, et cetera, et cetera. And we were able to see that in doing so, we didn't just manage a list of tasks and dates that they had to be performed, but we were also able to get involved and help work streams negotiate with one another in order to come to solutions much more quickly than they would, and impasses much more quickly than they would have in the past. We were able to identify bottlenecks in the processes as they occurred. We were able to get ahead of those bottlenecks and go directly to the powers that be, and sometimes deal even with the politics in the organization, to using our interpersonal communications and collaboration skills to work directly with them. So we didn't always have to teach them the skill to the person we were working with, because we were embodying that skill at the same time. So in this particular example, we not only managed this 3-year project across many, many countries, we taught different teams how to become high-performing teams along the way, and we ourselves participated in the project as modelers of the behavior that then became part of their culture of collaboration.